Hey friends, I hope you're feeling fresh and your week is off to a great start. My name is Eugen.
And I'm Becca.
Today I've got something in front of me that is perhaps a little scary to look through. What I have here is actually the first portfolio I ever put together. Now, if you've been following us for a while, you know originally Becca and I both started out as photographers. And what every photographer knows is when you first put your work out there, you have to somehow take all these random pictures you've been shooting and assemble them into like, this is me, this is my work.
Yeah, this is the best of the best.
I think for both of us, probably the first time we really assembled a portfolio is for like to apply to art school, right? We went to Ryerson University for photography. That was the first time I've ever put together a portfolio.
Yeah, definitely.
These are all images images I shot in high school.
I'm not taking credit for these.
We're trying to track down Becca's portfolio, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. So when we find it, you'll be the first to find out about it.
I really want to find it. I'm sorry, guys. We'll see.
So we're working on it, but we got mine. So, no need to hold your breath just yet. We're basically gonna flip through it, be nice to me. If you want to see the kind of work we do now, I really recommend you head over to our Instagram at instagram.com/workerbeesupply, and you can get a small taste of the kind of work we do nowadays, see how much hopefully we've grown. Why don't we get to it, all right?
Yeah, I don't think I really know what's in here, or it's been a long time since I've seen it last, so I'm excited to get started.
Cool, all right.
Take me on a trip down memory lane, Eugene.
So first things first, let's open her up.
Okay.
This was a photo, I think one thing you'll notice when you look through these images is they're all of stationary things where there could not possibly be anyone else around them.
Safe bet.
Yeah, so I hated photographing people. This photo specifically was shot in Queen Street on the graffiti alley. And I don't know why, this is one of the first times I probably was on Queen Street, and this is something I just came upon. Yeah, I don't know, what do you think?
I think it's quite striking. I mean, I feel like Graffiti Alley is the classic go-to for any young photo student, especially in high school. But I really like the level that you are at with this car. It's very imposing, but very striking as well since it's the old MG. It's it's a great pairing of cool vintage car and flashy graffiti wall. Yeah. So you got the old and the new.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's a very striking image though. I like it.
So there you go. So we started off with a car photo. I photographed I think 2 more cars since then. One of them was a Maybach. Check out this photo here. Bing. So that's how far we've come. So let's flip it over.
Oh my god.
Honestly, I don't know. Some of the photos in here, I'm not really sure what or why. But I still kind of like this photo in a weird way.
Okay.
There's something about it. It's kind of random, but I think I like just how you're completely lost in what world you're in.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this one.
Okay. Do you remember where you were when this was taken?
No. One thing I would do a lot is I would walk from home to school. And I would go through different paths, different housing developments, construction sites, and I would always have my camera. And as I would walk back and forth constantly to school, early on, that's where I would take most of my photos. I wouldn't go out on photo walks or whatever, but just finding things I pick up along my way. So this is probably there. I'm not really sure how this made the cut. We'll go from there. So this photo was shot in New York City, and this a trip to New York. I used to live in New York briefly, and my extended family was living there for a bit, so we would go more often, and this was on a trip with my parents. And I really remember taking this photo. This one of the things I really love about New York is these kind of endless streams of mid-rise buildings.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I still kind of like it. It's nice and graphic. It almost kind of looks Instagram-y nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
So
it kind of looks like it would make a really cool wallpaper, and I love that all the windows have this glow.
Some hip restaurants would have it behind the
yeah,
bar
exactly.
Nowadays.
Yeah, I like that all the windows are reflecting just the sky. It's very striking, and the 2 different tones of brown, the bright white over here.
I also feel it's the nicest color photo.
Yeah, it's really nice.
All the ones.
Were all these shot on digital?
Yeah, I didn't really shoot film. I don't think. Maybe later in school, but this is all. Probably a point and shoot, and then I had a D70, a Nikon D70S as well, but that was right at the end of school. So this, I remember, this is probably
this is cool.
My first architectural photo, and 100% my first wide panorama. I remember we did a school trip downtown, and I was just doing a 3-shot thing and then stitching it together in Photoshop. And it was such a cool experience. Like oftentimes when I was starting out, I would see photographs and not knowing anything about photography. It would just be like magic, like how are these created? You know, like wide panoramas or like like light trails or like moving flowy water.
Yeah.
So once I started learning some of the techniques about photography, like stitching panoramas, for example, it was like really exciting to be able to like physically, technically create that kind of picture, because you need to be able to technically do it before you can get really creative with it, you know. If you don't have the technical back end, it's gonna fall apart pretty quickly.
This is like a nod to what you would be doing down the road.
I know, we shoot so much architecture. Isn't that wild? It's funny the nuggets, like looking through this now, the little like seeds that have been planted during that time.
Cool,
so,
next one.
Ooh, all right. This is definitely more the kind of work I got into in university and stuff. I think here, like you could see a bit of the shallow depth of field. I'm probably using a DSLR already. So I actually kind of like this, and one thing I really wanted to do early on, I don't know why, but I had this urge, was to create make the images look like film stills a little bit.
Yeah, it's very film stilly.
So I think this one did that quite well. But yeah, it looks all right, not too bad, good, decent color too. So boom, again, more architecture stuff. I think this was at the BCE place, I'm pretty sure, in Toronto. But it might have been in New York, but I think it was a BCE place. And again, seeing that kind of like pattern, architecture, geometric kind of style. I think even after I left school for a while, like I shot a ton, like even nowadays, like a lot of like really uniform, symmetrical images, or like very just like clean, structured images. Pretty satisfying image. I think it's probably one of the better ones in the set.
I like the balance in it. Good balance.
Did you shoot a lot of architecture when you were?
No.
No?
No, definitely not.
This one we don't have to go too deep into either, but this was one of the things, like, you know, walking through on my way home and like capturing the things around me, and there's just like a lot of construction going on, and just like getting into like the process of photographing almost rather than the final images. Looking at this now, it's a pretty boring image.
I really like the color in it though.
Yeah, I like the kind of
really
geometry
nice.
of it. I think it's interesting. One of the ways I put together this portfolio was I like shot a lot of images, and I created like this pretty elaborate rating system, because we need to submit like 12 images to get into Ryerson, right? Like, and everyone knows it's like the editing down is the problem. So I basically I had a portfolio of like, I don't know, let's say like 30 photos, right? And I would go from person to person, and I would like tell them, like ask them to look through it and pick 12. And based on how experienced that person was in photography, their vote would count more or less.
Yeah.
So for example, my parents, who are like keen on me doing well and me having a good like sense of self, are probably very encouraging. So their vote was worth like one point. Then my photography teacher, his vote was worth 2 points, for example. I think someone I work with right now a lot still, Chris Buck, and we actually have a video. He's a celebrity portrait photographer in New York. We have an awesome interview with him. Check that out right here. But I went to a talk of his before we knew each other, and I brought him my portfolio at the end of the talk, and he very kindly, quickly flipped through it and would be like, keep this out, keep this. So like someone like him, you know, who's like a professional photographer, went to that photo school that I'm applying, he got like 3 points. And then I basically did a survey with like 10, 20 something people, and then I added up like which images had the most points based on the weighting of the people. And literally that's the only way I picked the images that ended up in this portfolio. So I don't know, like this photo, for example, I guess there was no photos that were better than this one.
I like this picture though. That's a very, that's a very elaborate like rating system. I definitely didn't go to that extent with mine.
I think for me, there's just so much uncertainty of like, what image do you pick? Like, how am I supposed to know what image a university photographer, you know, like it's just bizarre. Like, and obviously like no one can, and clearly they're not like basing it all on these images either. But for me, that was like the only way I could just kind of like relax and be confident that, okay, like someone thought these were good. So like,
I mean, I do appreciate that you took like that part of the application like so seriously. I don't know if I consulted anyone on mine, like maybe my mom, but I feel like it was mostly
both of us
me.
got in, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
A tale of two.
Oh, man, I want to find my portfolio. We'll get it.
Let's flip it over. I like this photo more than the previous one, but it's like of the same vein. I think I was playing a lot more with the editing here and like learning kind of like HDR-y things. I'm sure like many photographers, you go all in on HDR. And I kind of like really like the mood and environment of it. The one other thing that stands out to me looking at it now is like how direct it is, like onto the subject, which I shoot very directly onto things often.
It's been like a bit of a theme in this portfolio. Like the car, the very first image, that was very direct, but also like very low to the ground. I really love like the dramatic sky in this one. I love like the blue purple tint. It's very Fuji of you. I really like it.
So I did have a photography program in school, but it was like very basic when I got into university and I heard about some of the other photography programs schools had. It was pretty intense and like legit. This was pretty basic, much more focused on digital photography, but also things like, you know, just like Photoshop, filmmaking, a lot of the skills that I use every day probably learned in these classes. But we had a basic studio lighting intro, and this was like a cow skull that they had. I think I threw it in here just to be like, you know, like don't have to go outside. Like I could shoot indoors, and I think it was like a cool lit photo, which I didn't know anything about lighting at the time.
Was this like a part of an assignment that you had to do? Like here, take this like quirky object and like light it interestingly.
Yeah, or even just like here, just hang out in this area and light something.
Yeah, make something
more like it. Yeah. So this was kind of like let's hope they see I'm open to learning.
Yeah, you can do some studio stuff.
So enough in the studio. Let's go back outside
Oh my God.
to another trailer at a construction site.
So, oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know how so many of these ended up here, but out of all of them, I think this photo is the best probably. Most
It like almost
narrative.
looks like a tiny trailer.
Yeah, it's just like something happened here, and I think it's got like nice, pretty light, evening light on it. But that's about it. Yeah.
This is almost like the smallest amount of urban that you can get in the suburb.
Oh, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. Huh.
I like it though, and it has the similar tones to the small like trailer office that we just looked at too. I like really love the purples in the dirt. It's really cool.
All right, so there's like a trigger warning now. There's like a dead bird coming your way. All right,
Okay.
so you were warned. This is like a dead bird being eaten by ants. But it's also kind of a pretty photo, although I sort of missed the focus pretty spectacularly.
I don't know what's happening here.
So clearly shooting on a DSLR again. It's funny because I feel like I take, not photos of dead birds, but like photos like this still, like in this kind of like weird depth of fieldy, like kind of like mix of textures and patterns a lot. But yeah, I don't know, thought that was a thing that was worth including. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal favorite?
Personal
or one
favorite.
that like brings back like a good memory of,
I definitely think
wanting to leave high school so badly.
I like this photo,
Yeah, that's cool.
And honestly, the photo I remember the most is actually this one of Roddy Thompson Hall, because it was kind of like, I don't know, I just really wanted to be like in the city. So I think part of leaving school, I was really excited to go to be able to be in the city, and like once I
me
went,
too.
going to Ryerson, you know, for photography was a way to get into the city, like an excuse to get into the city. I think like putting this portfolio together and like some of these early trips downtown, we shoot a lot of stuff in these areas still, you know? Like I've done this panorama for like other things, like...
Well, this just like reminds me of the big U of T project that you did for, for the guidebook.
I think photos like this, but then also like photos like this one and the New York building one, I think they're the beginning of like my future work. You know, whereas like those other photos are the end of my kind of like basic exploration of just like a camera and like wandering. But I think it's like, it just goes to show your first portfolio is gonna kind of suck.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And if you're in a position where you're putting together your first portfolio, you know, you got two options clearly. You can overthink it like me and create a giant rating system, or you could just go with your instinct and maybe a nice parent. Both of those can be right and get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
But for those first couple of portfolios, you know, you're really trying to pull like from any picture you can. And when it's something so serious as like applying for school, you're really like, I don't know, right? And even looking at it now, it's like, who are you? You thought you would apply with this and get in, and then you did? Like, what? Someone needs to review the system.
It's such an emotional time. Like, I think you would have such an attachment to something like this. Or at least I did. Like, getting into Ryerson for me was like everything. So, I don't know if you were in the same boat, but...
Well, I would love to know what you thought of these images, you know, if there's any that stood out for you, if any made you really cringe or roll your eyes. Be nice, but hit us up in the comments below and let us know what you think. If you're someone who's working on your portfolio right now and you want some help, then send us a message, reach out, leave a comment. We'd happy to look through it, give you some feedback. And I'm excited for you to find your portfolio.
I know, I really hope I can find it.
I really want to see it.
I only can remember a few images that are in it for sure, so like the rest is just like Pandora's box.
If not, you can describe it to us.
Okay, right. Sounds good. I'll start thinking of my descriptions right now.
Well, thank you a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at my portfolio, and I'm curious to see yours as well. If you have a website also full of photography work, throw it down in the comments as well so we can check it out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And don't forget, follow us on Instagram. We're Worker Bee Supply, where you can find all our current images, and make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. We're posting videos about every week or so, more and more all the time. So we'd love to see you. We'd love to talk to you and get to know you and see what kind of work you're up to so we can all help each other.
Yeah, and I hope you're enjoying this format where we're kind of at our kitchen table and doing a round table discussion.
Round table discussion.
I think it's very comfortable. I like engaging.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, well, it's been fun.
Yeah, I hope everyone has a great week. We'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.
Bye.